that you guys are gonna be calling me a knockout artist after.
You think you can stop her?
Yeah, we know we can stop her. That's the thing. People get so caught up on, oh, you're at 12-0 with 2 knockouts, and they're so caught up on that. But they're not. When you're a real boxing fan, you know that I fought against some of the best fighters early on in my career. If I was fighting against some of those girls now, being how I've gotten better over the years, I could get those knockouts.
Do you see the same holes, or even more so, do you see the holes in Savannah's game plan that you can exploit? And can you give us just one of them?
Nah, I
so
can't.
secretive. I'm like, yeah, we ain't gonna give you ain't giving nobody an inch.
Yeah,
nothing.
They can't be giving away the game plan.
Are you going off?
Not even a little bit, man. If I say something, it's a lie to throw everybody off. So, nah.
Sometimes it's hard. Would you agree that you and her are 1 and 2?
No.
So who would you say?
As far as in the middleweight division?
Yeah. Mouthpiece, the home of unfiltered boxing. This episode is brought to you by Boxing Boys. Boxing Boys is a 3D animated NFT collection made up of 5,005 unique boxing characters, combining the real world of boxing with the digital revolution through a play-to-earn game. Each Boxing Boy has its own unique skill set, and upon collection becomes a playable character. Welcome to Mouthpiece. We have a very special episode today. We're joined by somebody who needs no introduction, if I'm totally honest. We're talking a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a unified middleweight champion.
Yeah.
The self-proclaimed, but I kind of agree.
Mm-hmm. The accolades are there.
Claressa Shields and Coach GT. Guys, thank you for joining us. We know why you're here, so let's not pretend that we're not on a boxer podcast and that Savannah Marshall isn't a boxer fighter. But we're going to be as impartial and fair. Listen, like, we're here to celebrate what you've done in the sport. You've done big things, but we know what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
And it is Savannah Marshall. What did you think of her performance on Saturday night?
I'm happy she got in there and got it done. But I thought it was a terrible performance besides the knockout. First 2 rounds, you guys can disagree because you guys work for boxing, but that first 2 rounds, if you had to sit there and watch that whole fight for 10 rounds without the knockout, you wouldn't want to fucking sit there and watch it. That's just being
You're
true.
nothing. Do you know what? Can you get me my hat?
Your hat, yeah?
Yeah, this is staying on. Do you know what? I need to get on my boxer bag. Let me get my coach hat on. Give me that. Yeah, this one, now I'm in my bag.
I think that the knockout getting a knockout is always great. But when you really a boxer, you look at the entire performance. And that's what I looked at, the entire performance. So congrats on the knockout. And we can finally, me and her can finally get it on and fight. But just the performance overall, that's like I look forward to. Like I said, it's going to be a wipeout.
So you can see, obviously, all the things that everyone else, maybe on Twitter and on YouTube, they're not seeing.
They're all blinded by a few different reasons. One, they're blinded by their hate for me, right? So the hate for me blinds them because she beat me in the amateurs. So they want her to beat me so bad in the pros so they can say, oh, we told you weren't the best, when I've already proved I'm the best without even fighting her. But they're all going to see. That's why I came over here to the UK to show her, like, ain't nobody scared of you. Ain't nobody's intimidated by you. I came over here and fought in the UK up in Cardiff. And then I came back to watch her fight in Newcastle. The crowd didn't intimidate me. They actually fired me up. I wish somebody would have gave me some gloves because I would have whooped Marshall ass right after she got done with MK.
You want to go, Mace? Or I'm going to dominate.
Come.
When you look at... Let's go back to the beginning, you and Savannah Marshall. Do you remember the fight, the amateur fight in the Olympics?
How do you forget your only loss?
It's true. What were your recollections of it?
She didn't beat me. That's my recollection.
Okay. Do you know what this is feeling like to me?
Yeah.
This is feeling... The more and more this builds, it's becoming Mayweather Hatton.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming America.
And we all know who Hatton
UK.
is in this equation.
You're from Michigan, so you have to be your money mate. You are.
That is big bro.
Yeah, that's big bro. You don't believe that you lost the fight?
No, we all know that amateur boxing is filled with a lot of corruption, especially back then. Savannah Marshall know that the fight with me wasn't easy. I was the favorite at the age of 17 to win the world championships. 2 months before, I had just dethroned Mary Spencer, who was a 3-time world champ. Those who don't know, the world championships come every 2 years in amateurs, not every year. So every 2 years. That means Mary Spencer reigned at the world championships for 6 years. I was the first person to actually start the whole thing of beating her. So when I beat Mary Spencer, she was a 3-time world champion. When I beat her at the Continental Championships. Then I went to China. It's my first time really leaving outside of the U.S. really and fighting. And I was the favorite to win there. It was a point system back then. People don't know the facts. It was a point system back then. And in that point system, I never scored below 25 points in no fight. The fight with me and Savannah Marshall, somehow, I only scored 8 points versus her 14. So it wasn't like, oh, it was a blowout. Oh, she dropped me. Oh, she beat me up really bad. First round, we were tied, 2 points to 2. I've never scored 2 points in the first round. My recollection, and you can look at all the judges and everybody, and they'll let you know that. Second round, I was down 3 points. I trailed by 3, all the way up to the 4th round. And in the 4th round, I just went for broke because I really didn't understand how I wasn't landing punches. It was a few times I had Savannah Marshall in the corner, and I was beating her down in the corner. Savannah Marshall has always been taller than me. She's a little bit shorter now, but she was taller than me back then. I probably was like 5'7". And I had her in the corner, beating her up because the shorter fighter goal is to get on the inside and and get on the inside of the taller fighter. I got her to the corner, 1-2 on her a couple times. I'll always get 8 counts on girls. I hit her with a hard punch. Her head went back. The ref jumped in. I'm thinking he about to give her an 8 count. Nope. The ref got us back to the center of the ring, where of course I didn't want to be at because she was so long and so much taller, and told us to box and asked her if she was okay. So that's what happened throughout the fight. But London was hosting the Olympics, and in order for her to make it to the Olympics, she had to win the world championships. So therefore, it was a lot on her side, and she knows that.
It's interesting.
When you talk about fighting in the UK, obviously when you're in Cardiff, you're getting a lot of love. There was a lot of cheers for you. Versus Newcastle, when there was a lot of boos. Obviously, it was a Savannah crowd, but
yeah, it was boos.
You were still getting cheers, yeah. How do you use the crowd to your advantage? Does it matter whether you're getting the boos, whether you're getting the cheers on fight night?
I'm kind of like tone deaf to that when it's fight night. Like I was able to hear the boos and stuff, the past weekend because I allowed my ears to hear, but during like fight night, I don't really hear nothing but my coaches in my corner. I don't really hear a whole lot. I hear people celebrating after, or maybe I kind of embrace the walkout and try to feel the energy. But throughout the fight, all I see is black on the outside, and I don't really hear much.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those ones where the boos it's just, unfortunately, you're a Panther Man villain at the moment because you are in Newcastle, which is her stomping ground. So as much as the boos, they're not, do you see what I mean? They're not real boos.
Yeah.
Every fan knows what you've done and they know how much of a threat you are, but they have to do it just to create the atmosphere. I think it builds the fight. I think it creates a bigger feeling around it. It's just if it has a mental effect on you and your approach to the fight.
Nah, I done went to plenty of countries and dethroned the champs and whoever they thought was number one. It's not going to be the first time I do it.
Coach,
what's up?
You are training Claressa for Savannah.
Along with John David Jackson.
Yes, along with John David. But do you see the same holes, or even more so, do you see the holes in Savannah's game plan that you can exploit? And can you give us just one of them?
Nah, I can't.
So secretive. I'm like, yeah, we ain't gonna give you ain't giving nobody an inch. Nothing.
They can't be giving away the game plan.
Are you going off?
Not even a little bit, man. If I say something, it's a lie to throw everybody off. So, nah.
What about on the flip side? When you look at Savannah, what do you rate about her, if anything?
I like her. She's a great fighter. She's great for the sport. She's huge for the female side of the sport. It's a great matchup. She's a smart fighter. She possesses a lot of skills and attributes that can they got her to this point. You know, now what she do after the loss is up to her. But you know, she can go on to be, you know, second best up under her for sure.
She gonna go to 168. I already know what's gonna happen.
For a long
and
time.
she gonna be a sore loser. When I beat her, she gonna be a sore loser, and she gonna think about retiring. But they're not gonna let her. She gonna go to 168 and try to become champ there. But they're never gonna mention her name alongside mine again.
So when you see that fight in your head, 'cause I always do it whenever it's fight week. I don't know why, but no matter what fight it is, I can, every time I go to bed, I run the fight in my head. Just a simulation every time. Do you see it how most of us see it? Is perhaps her looking for the power shots and you boxing clever?
I see a bit of both. You know, I see that one. What girl have you seen stand there toe-to-toe and fight with me inside of boxing? And I fought against way better opponents than Savannah Marshall. Once I hit those girls, and they also get intimidated by my defense and how I can counter, they get on their wheels. Peter Fury, Savannah Marshall was yelling knockout, knockout, knockout. She's on this knockout high. She's knocking on a whole bunch of bums. But Peter Fury has already, now his tone is switching. Oh, Savannah Marshall can also box. Oh, Savannah Marshall got power also. He's not sticking with one game plan. So people may think that she's going to go out there and try to stand blow for blow for me and go with power. But I doubt it. And I think she's very much going to try to use her height and her length to try to keep me on the outside. And when she feels comfortable or when she feels safe, she would throw a power shot. Which, y'all probably going to think she's gun shy when we fight because she's going to miss so much. I'm going to counter her so much that you guys are going to be calling me a knockout artist after.
You think you can stop her?
Yeah, we know we can stop her. That's the thing. People get so caught up on, oh, you're at 12-0 with 2 knockouts, and they're so caught up on that. But they're not. When you're a real boxing fan, you know that I fought against some of the best fighters early on in my career. If I was fighting against some of those girls now, being how I've gotten better over the years, I could get those knockouts. Just like when Emma Cozen, the knockout was there. It was just also me being over anxious and also me wanting to put on a boxing clinic performance like I did. I can do that with Savannah Marshall, but I'm going to hurt her. And she know I can knock her out. So she's not going to be stupid to stand there and trade with me. If she does, it'll be a great night for me. If she doesn't, it's still going to be a great night for me with a great performance.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think it's your record, as you said, 12 wins, 2 knockouts? Do you think that that's maybe where people think you haven't got the power, but versus the boxers that do actually fight you, when they do feel your power, as you said, they're straight away on the back foot, not wanting to stand and engage with you so much? Do you think it is just your record that give fans that perception that maybe you're not a big puncher?
It is the fans that give, it's my record that give the fans that perception. And also, you know, Savannah Marshall talking, saying certain stuff, you know, with the whole pillow fist thing. And it's like she's saying that to build herself up, to make her record look like it's just so monstrous. But, I mean, we talking about a 1-time world champ compared to a 12-time world champion. And when you look at that, it's like, oh, she's fighting against way better opponents. And women's boxing isn't easy. You can't just go in there and knock out former champions or girls who are, you know, the Hannah Gabriels and the Christina the Christina Hammers of the game, the Franchon Cruz of the game. You can't really knock out girls like that. And just to be honest with you, I guess I will throw shade at the UK boxing. It's a lot of padded up records. And in America, we're not allowed to do that, especially not in the women's division. If you want to be respected, or you want to be great, you got to fight against the best. And that's why I fought against Hannah Gabriels when she was 18-0. And she dropped me in the first round. My first time going to 160, she dropped me. And I had to come back throughout that whole fight. And I won a unanimous decision, even after being dropped in the first round. But over here, they're like, I guess it's something with Peter Fury's camp, because Hughie Fury also has a padded up record. And when it was time for him to become world champ, he didn't perform. And then look at Savannah Marshall's record. She's fighting against girls that are 3 days' notice, 1 week's notice. And now she's taking this huge step up, as in me. And I think everybody's going to be disappointed about how they feel like this fight's supposed to go, or how competitive it's supposed to be, because it's not going to be that.
Sometimes it's hard. Would you agree that you and her are 1 and 2?
No.
So who would you say?
As far as in the middleweight division,
Yeah.
I think Yin Min Gualin is higher than her.
Ooh.
That's just being real.
That's a big shout.
Yeah.
So you don't even think that is the hardest fight for you out there?
No. I think, you know, when you talk about biggest fights, Layla Ali versus Ann Wolf, the fight that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think that me and Franchon Cruz is the biggest fight in the women's division.
I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all.
If you go and watch my pro debut, you'll understand what I'm saying.
I'm going to go and do that straight after. That's exactly what I'm going to go and do.
You have a newfound respect for Franchon. And that fight was my pro debut because I went 0-18 looking for opponents my pro debut. There were a lot of girls who had 13-6 padded up records, but the commission was so scared that I would knock these girls out and hurt them severely that they declined all of them. They turned down. We would send them, okay, we want to fight against this girl. We want to fight against that girl. Who doesn't want to have a first knockout for the first pro fight? Mm-hmm. But instead, they turned down everybody and they accepted Franchon Cruz as my opponent.
Would you say, obviously, look, women's boxing is in a far better place now than it was when you turned pro. And
oh, absolutely.
If there's one credit you can give to the UK, it's probably that the UK are furthest ahead in the development of women's boxing in terms of how hard we champion it. And do you know what? There was a picture that was taken in the ring. It was you, Caroline Dubois. It was Lauren Harris, Natasha. And I looked at that photo. I'm not sure if I saw it being taken, but I saw it posted. I was just like, boy, this is crazy. Like, women's boxing has finally arrived.
Yeah.
And it's like a very good time to be a part of it. Yeah. You're kind of in the driving seat here. Do you think that's a reason for padded records and for the lack of there's not as much depth in the women's game as there is in the men's game, obviously, because it's a far younger sport?
I can't agree, but there's enough women to where we can all have competitive fights. And there are certain fighters who would rather take the easy route. And the easy route is spitting out my name throughout their whole career, but fighting bums and building up this big record to where everybody thinks they're knockout artists instead of fighting real competition. It just depends on like the kind of fighter you is. I've always told my promoter, you know, Demetrius Alita, give me the best fighter. Whoever you think the best is, bring her. Whoever got the world titles, who's ever number 1, who's ever number 2, bring them. And I'll beat him. I told him I wanted to fight against Christina Hammer, my 7th pro fight, but I ended up fighting against her my 8th pro fight. Once again, I was 8-0, 2 knockouts. She was 21-0, 11 knockouts. They were saying the same thing that they said about her, what they said about Savannah Marshall. Oh, she's gonna knock Claressa Shields out. She hits too hard. She's this, she's that. I don't think Savannah Marshall can even beat up Christina Hammer.
You say there that you don't think Savannah is number 2 in the division, so it's maybe not the biggest fight, but do you think it's the biggest rivalry in women's boxing history?
It's the biggest grudge match for sure.
Yeah.
And it has the most history behind it. And the thing is, it wouldn't be no history if I wasn't so great. If I was to just lost to her in the amateurs and then not won any Olympic gold medals and not won no world titles, nobody would care about this fight, no matter how great of a fighter she is or how great of a fighter I am. Nobody would want to see it. They want to see it because, whoa, she beat you in the amateurs, but look at how you've become. And now she got this padded record in the pros, and now they want to see it. But without me, she wouldn't be having no fight like this. Nobody would be even recognizing her. When they interview her, all they talk about is Claressa Shields, Claressa Shields, Claressa Shields, the GWOAT. I want to hear them say something nice about her. Besides, oh, you got punching power. I want to, what's her skills? Do she got good jab?
It's okay.
Good right hand?
Do you know what it is? I'm finding it hard to argue with you, but I have to.
I understand, but people be like, I'm cocky. I'm just a realist.
Would you say, from the outside looking in, to me, it looks like if you are a betting man and if you are Bet365. If you are a betting man, you would go Savannah stoppage or Claressa points. That's what the styles say.
A lot of people will lose their money betting like that.
Yeah, that's true.
just because her for the knockout. She can't knock me out. She can't hurt me. That's one thing people got to realize. But they'll find out soon enough. And also me on points. Never count me out for a knockout. I don't care what the record look like. She may be my first victim. Well, my third. But it's going to make a statement. And as much as I don't like her, I'm going to be in there swinging pretty hard.
Would you say you've obviously made transitions to MMA and is that because you get bored?
No, MMA has brought a lot to my life that boxing couldn't, and that's the endorsements. I'm endorsed by. Let me put my headphones off. I got them in my purse. I didn't bring them. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I did. These are my Bose headphones. I'm endorsed by Bose. I get paid a lot of money to be with them. These go in your ear. Noise canceling headphones. Gotcha. But I'm just I have the ESPN Plus docuseries, which was filming me actually doing my boxing camps and doing MMA camps and doing both simultaneously. Movie deals have come about from signing with the PFL for MMA.
Yeah. So is it more
just that notoriety?
It gives you a bigger profile. It's obviously growing like
and it makes me bigger for boxing. Makes me bigger for boxing.
Is there any physical, like we know that boxing is such small angles, it's so finely detailed, more so than in MMA.
Yes.
Is there anything that you could take from MMA physically into boxing, or is it more just profile stuff? I don't
know. It's a lot you can take from MMA to boxing. A lot. As far as in the clinch work, as far as in the distance, I understand distance a little bit better than what people can in boxing because I've done MMA. The wider range in boxing, you probably look at the head to the waist, or maybe the chest. MMA, you looking at the head to the feet. So actually, my vision is bigger now. When I box inside the ring, I don't want it to be because I'm so used to looking at the head and just the waist. Now, my eyes have sharpened to where you can be close to me, but I can still see your whole body, your feet, and that gives me a different perspective of what you're doing.
Okay.
I never used to look at that, like, what they doing with their feet? Is they faint? Is they going back? Or I just be right there, just fighting, doing my thing. Yeah. I understood the distance from up top, but now I see distance from at the bottom. So when you do stuff with your feet, I can see it, even though I'm looking at your chest. And I don't want to do that, but it has given me a better understanding and a higher IQ in boxing, for sure.
Could you say it's now easier coming back into boxing where there's less things to worry about? Obviously, MMA, you've got but like in the sense of like from your previous boxing experience to now, is it just so much easier for you to be dealing with it all in terms of the punches and just the way you just read things?
Boxing will always be easier for me than MMA. I started boxing at the age of 11. I'm 27 now, so that's 16 years in the books. But MMA is fun, and it's harder than boxing because of all the different stuff you got to do. It's a different kind of soreness from all the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. Even like, I've been kicked in the face. I've been kicked on my arm, kicked in my shin, my legs, kneed in the stomach, kneed in the legs. Yeah. And I just think that people don't get to see that stuff, but they need to understand like the fact that I can still take it and still sit here and look this good. It speaks volumes. I don't have a messed up face for boxing. And I boxed for 16 years, and I fought at the top against the best. And I got 12 world titles, but they talk about, but you don't look like a boxer. Yeah, because I'm the dominant one.
Coach.
What's up?
You obviously work with Money May. Mm-hmm. I can hear similarities.
Yeah, all day.
He always say that.
I can hear it. Man. I can hear it. Can you see similarities in the way that they fight and they approach a fight?
Man, it's so many. It's crazy, man. It's almost every box is checked out for both of them, man. They do the same thing, man. I think all elites pretty much do the same thing in all industries. Hard work, sacrifice, all the stuff you hear Floyd say. It's really summed up to that's the recipe. And she does a lot that Floyd does, and when you see them together, it's crazy too.
Floyd is like he's my hero in boxing, if I'm honest. There's still a canvas. My missus hates it. Above my bed, there's a canvas of Floyd. There is that. It's just he was the reason. I remember after the Hatton fight, I woke up the next day. I've never wanted to be someone else in my life. But that morning...
That was a great day, man.
That morning, I woke up, ran for no reason. No reason. I just hoping I went back in my house as Floyd.
How many miles you do? Or y'all do kilometers?
Around the area, man. That was before I was boxing. To be fair, that might have been the thing that triggered it the most. You know, I flirted with it before, but after that, I think that was the build up that encapsulated. You know, like that's the one that grabbed me. That was where I fell in love with the sport.
That was a huge fight, man. A huge moment in boxing, especially for like say U.S. versus UK.
Yeah,
it was huge, man. When they in the vibe in Vegas when they had that night, man, it was the best night of boxing that I ever experienced in my life.
And this is why I say I can feel that similarity. So, for example, the same way that motivated me to get into boxing and box, and fair enough, I didn't go pro and all of that, but I think there will be so many people looking at this journey between you and Savannah, and by the time the fight actually happens, they're already gripped, they're grabbed, they're in the sport of boxing forever.
Right. I look at it as Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. I think it's a fight of that magnitude to where that's what they look at this as. They look at her as Tyson Fury, and they look at me as Deontay Wilder. But what they don't understand, like the roles have switched.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tyson Fury could box.
Yeah.
And do all that. Like he can box, he can bang. He's a versatile fighter. Versus Deontay Wilder, who's a power puncher, a knockout guy, and can box, but he's very awkward. But he doesn't have to have that skill set because his knockout power is just crazy.
Yeah.
So they're looking at this fight as if Savannah Marshall was a knockout puncher, and I guess I'm Tyson Fury, but they can't say, but they can't see it that way because of the color of our skin, for one.
Yeah. And
then also too, just them feeling so highly about Tyson Fury and putting me in that boat, it wouldn't make them comfortable. But that's what it is. It's Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, and I'm basically Tyson Fury. Really, that's the truth about it. And I love Deontay. I wanted him to beat Tyson Fury every time.
I could watch that 10 times.
And I cheered for him every time. And to me, he won the first fight. It wasn't a draw. I thought Deontay Wilder won the first fight.
You thought he won the first fight?
Yeah.
Wow. That's the first I've heard.
You get 2 knockdowns in the fight, and then the other rounds are close.
But we know how boxing scored round by round.
Yeah, and it was some rounds where Tyson Fury threw 4 punches and Deontay Wilder threw 5.
Yeah.
It was close.
It was close-ish.
But when you get the knockdowns, hey, come on now. Those 10-8 rounds.
They're just 10-8s, though. I don't think there's enough of them. I've heard people shout for draws. I've not heard someone shout. I was flabbergasted
I thought Deontay
when that result
Wilder
came in.
I thought Deontay Wilder won the fight. It was the first fight.
You was really watching it through US goggles, and I was watching it through UK goggles.
I was watching it from just. I want to know at the end of the fight, like, who do I think won? So I'm like scoring the fight. I'm like, that's a 10-8. They called it it's a knockdown.
Yeah.
10-8. And I'm looking at some of the rounds where it's like Tyson Fury threw a flurry and maybe a 3-punch combination, but Deontay Wilder threw a 1-2 with a crazy overhand right that landed. It didn't hurt him.
Yeah.
But so when you're looking at that, it's like, who do you get around to? So it wasn't swing rounds.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't mad about the draw.
Yeah.
But I still felt like, dang, I thought Deontay Wilder got it by like a point or 2.
Talking of fights that were very close and stuff, did you see the Josh Taylor-Jack Catchell fight?
Yeah.
Did you watch that live or did you catch up on it? What did you make of that fight?
I watched it live.
Uh-huh.
Josh Taylor got some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the decision?
Yeah, he got some work to do. I thought the other guy won.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the other guy also, too, stepped off the gas. A lot of fighters do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm super dominant when I fight. So when I'm beating a girl up, I don't just, like, kind of, let me lay back now. It's cool. It's like I try to beat him down some more and just dominate. I think only thing I saw that Kattar did wrong was he just stopped going for him.
Got complacent in the end.
Yeah, he just started chilling like, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
When it's like, you never know if you got it. You against the undisputed world champ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to go in there and dethrone him. So the decision, I feel like, to be the undisputed champ, you have to do a lot. But also, too, if I'm looking at it from just 2 fighters fighting each other with no belts on the line, I thought Kattar should have got it.
Mm-hmm.
His name Jack Kattar, ain't it?
Yeah. Shout out to Jack. That's the homie, too.
Yeah, 100%. When you look at the upcoming heavyweight clash, AJ Usyk.
Yeah.
You're a boxer, but you're a box fighter. essentially as well. Right?
I love boxing, but I'm a fighter. Yes.
Yeah. And then you have Usyk. You have Usyk, who is just a pure boxer, but he's got enough pop to keep you off him and to get your respect all the time.
Agreed.
You got AJ, who's a bit of a bull, or was a bit of a bull and a bit of a bully, and he would impose himself on you. What do you see happening in the rematch?
I think it's all about game plan. I think AJ had the wrong game plan for the first fight. And not that Usyk isn't great, but I wouldn't go out there trying to outbox Katie Taylor. I mean, not with the movement that she has and the stuff like that. Like, I'm a great boxer myself, but the game plan has to be something that you're good at. And you can't outbox somebody that outbox everybody when they fight. And I mean, also as a smaller guy, so that means he's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, throw a little bit more combinations. So I think the first fight, just Joshua trying to outbox Usyk just wasn't the best idea. I think he was having great success in the fight when he was putting the pressure on Usyk, showing Usyk who's the little man. You've come from cruiserweight to heavyweight. Let me show you some power. And I think that if he has that game plan added with a good jab and some good combinations, I think he'll be able to best Usyk. But I think from the first fight, Usyk's confidence is roaring.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to do a lot to get the respect of Usyk to make him respect his power. Because I feel like Usyk doesn't think he has power from the first fight. So it depends on the game plan. And if Usyk keeps the same game plan and just be super aggressive and never let AJ get that dominance in his power and get comfortable throwing shots, I think Usyk can get it again also. So it depends on who used the right game plan. That's all that it matters.
When let's bring it back to you. When it's all said and done, because I think your accomplishments almost you've done too much for how old you are, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done and you retire from the sport of boxing, what
40.
do you want them? 40?
Yeah, 40.
That's a long time left.
Yeah.
You got that much left?
What do I?
I'm asking.
Yeah, I probably got 45.
So you're
gonna see me for a long time.
You're gonna wait for the next generation. So is that all right? Cool. That's Floyd. That's the Floyd in you again.
Exactly.
Because Floyd waited,
gonna keep
and he
saying
went through every generation as they came through. Just beat the next one, then the next one, then the next one. So you're still in love with boxing the same way you always were?
Absolutely. Just because they won't pay me $1 million for a purse don't mean I'm not in love with the sport. I found a way around that to where I can still make a lot of money in boxing. I love boxing. It's gonna be hard for me to retire, but I know that right now I don't drink, I don't smoke, never have. I drink occasionally, but I don't drink a whole lot. Like I'm not like alcoholic to get drunk, but even now, like that's to a minimum. I've never smoked, pescatarian, and I can also be vegan. I was vegan for 9 months before. And I just take very good care of my body. So I think that, and I don't have no kids yet. So I think that just throughout the years, I'm going to take my time off, have some kids, get my body back together, box some more, and kind of just do that.
That's interesting, because maybe we've seen it too many times. We've seen throughout people's careers, for example, with Khan and Brooke, they wait until it's nearing the end of their careers, and then they have the big one that everyone's been waiting for, and then they kind of both dance off into the sunset.
Sucks.
You are having the biggest one next.
Yeah,
essentially.
That's what they say. I've already had some big ones. Hannah Gabriels was big. Christina Hammer was big. Now, any fight that I'm in is gonna be big. That's why I wanted to fight Cecilia Barakis. I wanted to fight Jessica McCaskill. I'm like Mike Tyson. You really didn't care who Mike Tyson was fighting. You just wanted to see the fight.
Yeah.
That's how it is with me.
So, after you beat Savannah Marshall,
yeah.
If you beat Savannah Marshall,
Why not beat her? You said it right.
I have to do that.
I got you.
You are then looking onwards and upwards.
You know what? I will fight my mandatories the next year. But 2023 is a year where I'll be focused on MMA, that majority of that year. And then 2024, I'll come back. But I will have one fight in 2023 for boxing. But majority of my year will be spent MMA because I want to see if I'm talented enough to win the PFL championships for the $1 million.
Is 160 your prime weight class? Would you say in boxing?
Me.
In terms of we've seen you go up and down all the weight classes. Well, not all the weight classes, but multiple weight classes. Where do you feel you're at your best? At what weight?
I'm at my best anyway. 54, 60, 68.
Do you have one that you feel most comfortable in though?
I mean, 68, 60. It's weird because I feel good in all the weight classes. I just feel very, very tiny at 154. And I can make 147. So I say 60 and 68. I'm most comfortable.
What's up at 175?
175.
Yeah. Would you ever go up there? Is there anyone at 175?
It is, what's her name? My homegirl. Danielle Wolf? No.
You got
What's
what's
her
her
name?
color?
The tall girl that was in that fought on undercard. She just Danielle Perkins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she up there alone? Just
It's up and coming. What's her name?
And I think Hannah Gabriel's at 175 now too, right?
oh.
Yeah, she's fighting at
Yeah, Hannah Gabriel's
175. And Danielle Perkins, she's tall and built like Evander Holyfield, and she's a woman. It's crazy. And then also the drug cheat, Tiger Jimenez, she's up there.
When you look at the current, I mean, look, you was around for summer February. You fought in Cardiff in February. We had a big month, and that was, the beginning of this kind of massive boxer journey that we're because it's a young company in essence.
No, it's very young.
It's a young company competing with some giants.
Yeah.
And we're doing just fine as it happens at the moment.
Doing great.
Yeah, great.
So by the time July comes around, are we thinking late June, July for the Savannah Marshall fight?
I believe so.
By the time that comes around and it is a big fight, do you think it will be the biggest the fight could possibly be?
Yeah. Sure. I think it's a time thing. She can't for too much longer fight against, bums, tomato cans. She got to fight against somebody. And they don't want to give her a risk against anybody lesser than me, like a Raquel Miller or a Christina Hammer, Hannah Gabriels. She fight those girls, she's in jeopardy of losing, which makes our fight be not worth nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the fight with me and her has to happen now, so it can be the biggest it is right now. And she's on a high. She's had knockout after knockout after knockout. She thinks she's a knockout artist. She's supposed to knock me out. So we're going to see if she can do that in the summer. But we have nothing blocking us now. I don't have no more fights coming up. And everybody know I wasn't going to lose no fights, no way. But now, she don't have to worry about her losing to anybody lower up in competition and getting a bad, having a bad night. So now we can fight. Yeah, I think this is a great time.
What would you say? Obviously, you've done 2 Olympic gold medals, 2 undisputed, countless world championships. What would you say your proudest accomplishment to date is?
Probably becoming 2-time Olympic champ, or even just becoming Olympic champ. Period. Because when I lost when I was 17, it was 2-3 months before the Olympics. So it's like to come back with the kind of savagery that I came back with. A lot of fighters don't possess that. You lose, you down on yourself. You quit. You go find something else to do, especially with all the pressure of trying to be even going to the Olympics. I took the loss, was down for about a week or 2, but I still trained. I still worked out, and I went to school, and people talked about it. I was all over the news. Not just the loss, but that I was going to the Olympics. So both. It was like both coincided with each other. And I was able to deal with that mentally, get back in the gym, train hard, bite down, learn more. I had got so much smarter just within those 2-3 months. And then to actually fight the Olympics and to hear people who were the speakers of the Olympics say, oh, she'd be lucky if she even get bronze, to speak of me in that manner, and then to come out on top with gold in London. It's just like, I think that was a proud moment, and then to be able to do it again in 2016, where I knew that it was no doubt that I was going to lose. I had just won the World Championships 2014 and won the World Championships again in 2016. So I knew that I could win the Olympics again. But it was something that never had been done in American boxing. So it was like kind of impossible. So can you do the impossible? Mm-hmm. So both of those were, to me, some of my highest moments in my career.
Everyone says that, right? Like world titles, you can pick them up. You can different weight divisions. You can there's WBO, WBA, IBF. You got all of them. There's so many routes to a world championship. Whereas with the Olympics, you get one shot every 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's where the novelty is for it.
Yeah, and just to be truthful, the Olympics is harder than professional boxing to me. Mm-hmm. Just to even make it to the Olympics, you have to place in the Continentals, and then that makes you place in the World Championships. Mm-hmm. And then the World Championships, you have to place at a certain level to get to the Olympics. So it's a lot of pressure, throughout that whole lead up of everything. And you don't control the brackets. You don't know who you're going to fight. You just you got to get prepared. And whoever they put in front of you, you got to do your job. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why it feels more of a big deal. And I fought 3 times both Olympics, but I fought 5 times each World Championships. Besides 2012, 2014, fought five times, 5 days back to back to back. Then same thing in 2016. So it was like the lead up, to just get one little piece of gold medal. And then you fight, you spend 2-3 months getting ready for a professional fight, and you get these big old belt and all this stuff. But it's like the Olympics, you have to work a little bit more harder to get what you want. Yeah.
How you enjoying England? Do you like it here, or do you just get here? It's a job you gotta get out of it.
No, I actually like it here. You guys respect women's boxing. You guys respect me, despite all the trash talk. I'm glad that the fight is this big of a magnitude. I'm hoping we can fight at the O2 Arena or Wembley, somewhere in London. I'm hoping that we can get that done. And just.
Would you prefer that than going to the Northeast?
Why would I fight her in Newcastle?
Okay.
No, I'm just being.
Good. No, I like
why?
The honesty.
Yeah, why? I mean, I've already. The suitcase is closed up, but I have the majority of the belts at the 160 division. I was undisputed at 160. And I've already given up the USA to come over here and fight in the UK. Yeah. So why would I fight her in Newcastle when we can fight when I'm more it'd be more neutral in somewhere like London, Wembley, or the O2. It'd be more neutral. I'm not saying be neutral. Yeah. It'd be more neutral than Newcastle was, where the majority of everybody in the house is cheering for Savannah Marshall. Mm-hmm. And we know how crowds can be, just cheering for her and the judges and all that stuff. Like, no, it needs to be on a little bit more neutral ground. We're already here in the UK. And if she needs to fight in her hometown, she's like, that's going to make her beat me. It's a little pathetic.
The O2 would be crazy. I was there for the UFC. I was at the UFC the other week, and the atmosphere there was insane. A lot of people, like Terence Crawford, for example, when he came over, said that the UK fans are some of the craziest in the world. What do you think of the UK crowd in terms of, obviously you've fought all around the world, but what do you make of the UK fans?
They're dope. I like the UK fans. Mm-hmm. I'm a fighter that like you said, I'm a boxer, fighter. So I watch the fights. I go to the fights in person. The biggest fights that I've seen is at the T-Mobile Arena. Mm-hmm. With some of the best fights that we can't even think about. Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Mm-hmm. Like, I was there for all those fights. And it's like the UK, and I've been there when it was just live. It was crazy. Like, I wasn't even able to walk through the hotel because people were like, oh, that's the girl that boxed. We want pictures with her. Mm-hmm. I had to have security with me. But in the UK, it's like you guys are like times 4, times 5 that on a good night, So I really enjoy that. And it does make you guys seem a little bit crazy a little bit. But as crazy as I am about boxing, and I'm a boxer, I kind of appreciate, fans who are just as crazy. So it's cool.
Well, I've got one last question I think we should do with all the guests. So when it's all said and done and you retire from the sport of boxing, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as, one, a great person, right? a great champion, someone who never backed down from a challenge, who took on the best opponents, whether they had knockout power or they had better skill or they were just known, whatever they were known for. I stood up to the challenge. I went to their weight class and I fought them and I beat them. I want to be known for just being a trailblazer in women's boxing, changing the game. Mm-hmm. I believe that I've made a blueprint to the $1 million for women to make $1 million in boxing. It all started with me in the U.S. on Showtime, fighting the main event. You know, and even though Katie was fighting over here, she wasn't the main event yet. She was like co-main and stuff like that. And I'm like, she's the main event. She's fighting world champions. But like, I was able to do that in the U.S., sell out some venues, and now I'm over here fighting in the UK. So I just want to show that people to just know that I help women's boxing. I uplifted other women fighters, and that I helped pave the way. Yeah,
I think that's set in stone. All of those. Mm-hmm. I think it's already there. It's been an honor having you both here. One more question: who is your current favorite fighter? Who's active now?
It gotta be one.
One.
That's too much right there.
Give me two then.
Two. Okay. Two favorite current fighters. Let me think about this. Terrence Crawford, because he'll fight against anybody. I can't do two. It's Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Shakur Stevenson, Canelo. I can't do two.
Okay.
It's too hard.
Coach?
Favorite fighters?
No, favorite fighter right now.
If you could give me one.
To watch.
To watch.
My favorite.
Yeah.
It's hard to just pick one, ain't it?
Yeah, it's hard to pick one. It's politics involved. You know, when
I know. I know.
So many
you can go with the safe option or you can go with the truth.
Yeah. Safe is the truth. But it's too many for me. I can't do it.
That's why I said, like,
I'm way more. I know. I'm way more neutral than she is. So it's gonna be.
I said Canelo though.
Right.
And I love Shakur Stevenson. Like he's up next.
Mm-hmm.
Terrence Crawford fight against anybody. You were talking about 54, 60. He won't smoke.
You know what? Favorite fighter to watch for me is Tank right now.
I was gonna say Tank. To be fair.
Okay.
That's a good shout.
I was gonna say
that's a good shout.
You know what?
To watch.
That's a great shout.
I'm looking for his fights. When he fighting? What date? Some people I'm gonna forget their dates. I'm not gonna forget it.
No, I don't forget none of them dates. Shakur's, Terrence's, Errol Spence's, Anthony Joshua's. Yeah, I can't
It's good though because we're boxing. There's so many boxers out there who don't watch boxing or care that much for boxing. They just fight.
I don't understand that. That's weird to me.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah.
It's a lot of them.
It's so many boxers that be like, I know boxers who don't even watch their own film.
Yeah.
Like you don't even watch your own fights.
Right.
Woo. I ain't gonna say nothing. That's weird.
I think that is how we end it. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us.
Our first ever physical guest on the podcast.
It is. Yeah, you're first. You're our first physical guest. We're going to have to even it out at some point and get Savannah.
We'll try.
But you are the first.
I mean, she's from here. You guys should definitely get her.
Get it before the loss, though.
Of course. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that you know you should be doing. And stay locked in because we're going to be dropping exclusive news on this podcast every week. Mouthpiece, the home of unfiltered boxing. This episode is brought to you by Boxing Boys.